Do you ever wake up with a painfully tight back, stiff hips that just make moving around feel less than pleasant? Well, today's class is just for you. Hey friends, it's Kate here. Thanks so much for joining me today. Now, I don't know about you, but some mornings I just wake up and I feel so tight through my hips, through my back. I feel so stiff. It's hard to even get up and get down. Well, this is a really gentle class. I suppose we could think of it as a Pilates Yoga Fusion class. It's a very mindful stretching class, one that's going to start on our back, move to a seated position, and eventually end standing, but with a true focus on making sure that we are lengthening, stretching, and twisting our back and moving through our hips. A really lovely sequence to start your day off and to feel a little bit better through some of those tender areas of our body. Now, all levels are welcome, and this is a really wonderful sequence that you can just throw in on those days when maybe doing bigger Pilates or yoga is just not in the cards for us, and instead we want to give our body a little treat. Roll out your mat. Let's get started. So we'll start lying on our back. Make your way down to your mat and just take a moment. And I like to start with my legs or my feet a little bit wider than my hips, gently letting my knees knock towards one another. Now, I don't have a lot of internal rotation, so my knees don't really hit one another, but yours might. Just pause there for a moment to notice how your feet feeling lying right here. Take a nice big inhale. Big breath out. Another big inhale. Big breath out. One more breath in. Let it go. Seal your lips together. Breathe through the nose. With eyes open or closed, just start to windshield wiper your knees right and left, taking an easy twist side to side. And your twist might be more shallow or deep than mine. It's not really about what it looks like. It's just allowing some movement to happen through your hips, your low back. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this always feels really good. I can hang out here and just windshield wiper all the time. In fact, it's one of my favorite things to do before I even get out of bed, just lay on my bed and let my knees kind of sway side to side. Nice, easy, gentle twists. Now eventually make your way back to center. Heel toe the feet so they are in line with the sitting bones. And we're just going to do a few little pelvic tips. Now, if you've never done those with me before, for just a moment, I want you to actively arch your back. And now do the opposite. Push the low back down into the mat. Arch the back and push it down. Now keep that action, that small lift of your low back and press down, and start to pay a little bit more attention to your pelvis. Your sacrum is that big bony plate at the base of your spine. And I'm really thinking about my sacrum pushing down into the ground while I push the low back down. And then I think about it slowly lifting as I arch. Still just waking up everything in the lower body. And then slow that down and we'll start to tip our pelvis right and left. So we're going to push more into your right hip. Your left hip will kind of lift up. It's like a little teeny tiny twist. And drop the left hip down. Now lift the right hip up. Go ahead and take that side to side, back and forth. Again, still just letting your pelvis move, letting your low back follow suit. It might feel really good to kind of pause in one side and stay there a little longer. And then eventually bring yourself back to center and pause. Again, heel toe the feet a little bit wider. Knock the knees towards one another once again. And usually speaking, when I knock the knees together, I immediately imprint the spine. I immediately press the low back down into the mat. This can be such a gentle spot when our back is feeling tight or painful. And then again, take those nice little windshield wipers that we already did. Sway it side to side. And then make your way back to center, heel toe the feet so they're once more in line with the hips. And I want you to pull your right knee into your chest. Now, if you don't have the range of motion to hug around the front of your shin, you could hold behind, or you could even grab a yoga strap or a stretchy band and put it around the leg if we need to. I know not everyone has the same range of motion. It's okay that we don't. But I like to pull the knee into my chest and then let it go, and then kind of pull my knee out towards my right armpit. Let it go. Pull it into the chest. Release. Pull it out to the armpit. Release. Once or twice more, just like that. Nice and gentle. Now this next time, pull it into the chest, pause, and I want you to circle the knee around, kind of swirling it in both directions, just finding some movement. And I'm okay if we're kind of swaying on our hips or moving side to side right now. Set the right foot down, and we'll repeat on the left side. Pull the knee in, give it a hug, give it a squeeze. We might immediately notice one side feels different than the other. After you let go, pull it into your left armpit. Let it go, pull it into the chest. So it's like we're going back and forth from a small little external rotation and then back into parallel. We externally rotate through the hip as we pull it out to the left armpit, and then it comes back to parallel when you bring it into the chest. And then again, we'll take those little swivels, and maybe it feels better to hold underneath the knee pit to give yourself a little more range of motion as you do that, both directions. And then slow that down, set both feet back onto the floor. Reach your hands away from your body, not quite by the hips, but away. Shoulders down, nose points to the sky, and from here, lightly push your low back down into the mat. Feel the connection of the ground beneath you, and in your mind's eye, follow your spine up your back to the place between your shoulders. Are your shoulders trying to cave in or lift away from the ground? Can you press them down a little deeper? Feel the support the ground can give you. As you inhale, I want you to tip your pelvis up so it's like I'm lifting the pubic bone first, and each little vertebra follows until I arrive at the top of my bridge. And I do want to be clear, this is a Pilates bridge and not a yoga bridge. So we're not going for a big heart opener, but instead we want to focus on activating our glutes and hamstrings. Where your glutes and hamstrings meet, I call it our thigh butt. Give your thigh a little squeeze, push the hips maybe just a little higher without flaring the ribs, without letting the ribs separate and push up to the sky. Instead, it's like our hips, our pelvis is trying to rise a little higher. Take a nice big inhale. From the sternum, roll one vertebra at a time all the way back down to the mat. Again, inhale, tip the pelvis, lift one vertebra at a time all the way up. From your sternum, roll right back down. Let's move through our own little bridge a couple of times, taking it at your own pace. Now, being cognizant of the fact that we do not want to let our shoulders rise up. When you're letting your hips lower, it's the most likely spot that our shoulders are going to try and peel off, and instead we want to resist that feeling. Now, this next time, lift up and pause. This might feel a little wonky or a little funky, but I want you to let your right hip drop lower than your left, and then bring both hips back up. Drop your left hip lower than your right. Bring them back up. Let's just do that side to side once or twice more. This is not about speed. I'm really letting my hip sink, pause, and then I push up. I let it sink, pause, and then I push up. Let's do one more time. Now find your center, hold. Again, we're going to let our right hip lower than our left and pause. Now, just like you would lower down from a regular bridge, start from your sternum first. I'm going to lower down. Because my right hip is lower, it's going to touch the ground first, and then my left hip follows. You'll have to even out the hips. Roll all the way back up to your starting place. Now this time, drop the left hip lower than the right. Pause right there. And then again, from the sternum, I roll down, my left hip hits, my right hip follows. Let's do that once or twice more. Often when I do these little twisted bridges, I find a spot in my low back, usually right around here, and it can feel really nice to pause, to hold, and then to slowly let the hip fall to the ground. I get an extra little stretch through my lateral lumbar spine. Now, eventually let both hips find your center again. Once more, pull your knees into your chest, and this time let's circle both knees around, smooth and steady. Opposite direction. Again, hold on to just your right leg. Give it a little pull. Whether it comes into your chest or off towards your shoulder is not important to me. It's whatever feels good, but elongate your opposite leg. It might float away from the ground. That's okay. You might be able to touch it. The knee could be bent. I'm okay with any of that. What I want you to focus though on is trying to reach your left toe as far away from your body as you can while you pull your right knee into your chest. Take a nice big inhale. Big breath out. And then slowly we're going to move our right leg across to the left for a deeper twist. You might take your right hand away. Your left leg might start to straighten away, or you might keep it bent, whatever feels good for you. Now you can point your nose to the sky, or you can look to your right hand. You might get a few back pops here. I often do. It usually feels so good to me. Take a big inhale. Exhale, relax. Now, instead of rolling back like we did, we're going to straighten our arms, straighten our leg, and roll so we're lying flat on our back. Now, instinctively, if you arch your back because that just felt good, I'm okay with that as long as there's not pain. You might try to keep more of a neutral spine, less of an arch, just the natural curve as we do so. But physically reach as long as you can from the tips of your toes through your body out to your fingers. You might even wiggle your fingers a little bit. Stretching, longer through the right hand, right side, longer through the left hand, left side, equally through both, and then relax. Walk both feet in, imprint your spine, push your low back down, pull both knees back into your chest, and take that nice, easy little swirl of the hips or the knees. I guess the hips and the knees are moving. I'm physically circling my knees, but your hips move because of that. Now this time we'll hold on with our left leg as we elongate the right down the mat. And again, if it feels better to keep it lifted, you absolutely can do that. If it feels better to bend the knee, you could even just plant it onto the floor. Everybody's a little bit different, but I like to stretch my right toe as far away from my body, like someone is pulling the ankle away, and then I pull my left knee up towards my left side, whether that comes straight into your chest or off to the shoulder. Again, that's up to you. For me, it feels better towards my armpit, getting into my inner thigh a little bit, but we're all different, friends. Listen to your body. Take a big inhale. As you exhale, we'll begin our twist, reaching your left leg across to the right and slowly arriving in the twist, as deep or shallow as you like. Maybe you look to your left hand. Maybe you keep looking to the sky. Notice if you're holding your breath. Let it go. You can smile. Sometimes that helps to relax the face and chest. Take a big inhale. As you exhale, start to straighten your leg, reach your hands over your head, roll to your back, and find that nice big stretch from the tip of your toes through your body out to your fingers. We might pause right there, hold a little longer. When you're ready, walk the knees in, pull them back into your chest, and make yourself a teeny tiny ball. If this does not feel good, of course, you don't have to do it, friends. But for me, this always feels so nice on my back. I'm just going to rock up and down, giving my spine kind of a little massage. If you don't quite look like I do, that's okay. We might feel silly. That's fine too. If you've done rolling like a ball with me in my Pilates class, you know I like feeling silly as I roll around. Now eventually roll yourself up to a seat and just pause. Take a moment to notice if our back or our hips are feeling so tight that we have to really round. We might try to sit up on a block, on a ball, not a ball, a blanket, or maybe even rolling your mat up to give you a little height and a little more space. Ideally, we want a long, tall spine, and it shouldn't feel painful or uncomfortable to find this position. That's why props are wonderful, my friends. We don't think of props as being a crutch, but they are merely there to accommodate the proportions and our own flexibility and body size and shape. So don't feel bad if you need to sit on a block. But I'm going to take my hands to my knees, roll the shoulders back. Now, we want to think about activating our core. That's such a helpful spot to keep the health of our back nice and strong. Making sure that we're wrapping our abdominal muscles in. Our obliques are those side tummy muscles, and they kind of close in. It's like you've got a belt on and it got one notch tighter. It's not about just sucking in the gut, but activating everything and trying to lift you up and out of the waist. Roll the shoulders backwards 3 times. Roll the shoulders forwards 3 times. And then pause, lifting a little higher out of the waist. Take a big deep inhale, stretching your fingertips over your head. Exhale, hands behind the head, elbows nice and wide. Push the elbows back. Notice, did we slump off our sitting bones? Can we make sure we're right on top of them? Did we cave the chest in or pull the elbows in? Push them back so you can feel your chest nice and open. Take a nice inhale. Exhale, a little twist to the right. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, a little twist to the left. Inhale, look forward. Reach your fingertips all the way up to the sky. Extend the fingertips as long as you possibly can. Take a full big breath. As you exhale, I'll drop my right hand down to the ground, and before I stretch to the right, I want you to lift your left hand higher and then begin that lovely little side body stretch. I think of my body as being a rainbow, trying to lift up and over, not just down to the floor. Stack the shoulders one on top of the other. I think about my shoulder blades, those little wings behind my back, and the tips of them almost trying to kiss towards one another, to pull the shoulder blades together. Take a full big inhale. As you exhale, I want you to forward fold. Let the head be heavy. Slowly soften down. Now you might be a little higher than me. You might really take that giant forward fold. It's okay. To get a deeper stretch through your low back though, the more I think about pulling my pubic bone up towards the belly button and my chin towards my belly button, so I'm really trying to round as much as possible. And then slowly roll yourself one vertebra at a time all the way back up to your seat. Now again, I'm going to take my hands nice and high, maybe rotate the pinkies towards one another, grow an inch taller. Drop your left hand down. Before we go anywhere, reach your right hand up higher and then stretch over to the left. Think about fanning open the ribs, stacking the shoulders. And then again, a great big forward fold when you're ready. Just like we did the first time, the more I think about pubic bone to belly button, chin to belly button, really rounding everything, that's where I get that deep stretch. And then I roll myself up. Now we're going to repeat our little side body stretch, and we'll have the opportunity to take it a little deeper. I realize not everyone wants to be in a kneeling position, in which case you can just still sit cross-legged, but this is one of my favorite back stretches when I'm feeling, like I've got a lot of tightness around there. Now you get more range of motion if you're on your knees, so you could always try it and then we could decide something different. You know, don't be afraid to try things, but decide that it doesn't work for you today. My hands come to my thighs. I roll my shoulders back. I lift out of my waist like we've already done. Wrap the tummy in. Reach the fingertips up to the sky. Grow an inch or 2 taller. Now again, right hand comes down. I'm going to lift my left fingertips up higher and start to slide over to the right. Now this might be as far as we go, and you might find you get a deeper stretch right here. But to get a great big deep stretch through your side, low back, I'm going to push my hips off my heels and let my left hip touch the ground. This is our mermaid stretch in our Pilates, and it usually feels oh so good to me. Everyone's a little different though. Take a nice big inhale, big breath out. Slowly forward fold, restacking your hips on top of your heels. Roll yourself upright. Swim the hands nice and high. Rotate the pinkies in. Grow an inch or 2 taller. Drop your left hand down. Reach your right hand high and start to slide over. Now again, notice before we go anywhere, did you cave the chest in? Can we open up? Can you grow longer through your right side body? And then I might choose to push my hips over to the side there. Now for me, this feels amazing. It feels so good. This is one of my favorite stretches, our lovely Pilates Mermaid stretch. But if it's not working for you, it's okay, friends. Take a big inhale, exhale, great big forward fold. Head is heavy. Full big breath. Big sigh out. Roll yourself all the way up to a seat. Beautiful. Now from here, we are going to come up to standing. And just take a moment to notice how we're feeling. Maybe our back already feels a little happier, our hips a little bit more open. We're gonna open up our hips just a little bit more. I'm just gonna pick up my knee and circle it around. Now, we might feel a little silly as we do this, but that's okay. We're just kind of moving around in our ball and socket joint a little bit, saying hello. And then we're gonna go the opposite direction, out to in, out to in. And if you've never done this little move with me, it might feel really wonky, a little harder in our brain to do than we think. But I just think of this as lubricating my hips first thing in the morning. I usually do this when I'm brushing my teeth to wake up my hips. Now let's pause for a moment. Let your feet just settle about hip distance apart. Roll the shoulders back, wrap the tummy in, lift your ears higher. Take a nice big inhale. As you exhale, dip your chin to chest. Take another breath. As you exhale, think about folding from the sternum first. Because I'm folding, my head falls a little lower. My shoulders round down. Start to bend the knees. Pull the navel in. My abdominal muscles are active right now. You can keep the knees nice and bent and continue to forward fold. Let the top of your head fall to the floor. Look through the legs. Now let's pause for a moment right here. Bend your knees a little deeper, like we did in our seated forward fold. Think about pulling your pubic bone up towards your belly button. It's really like we're trying to drop our sitting bones so they're pointing to the floor. That way we can stretch and open up our low back a little more. Have your shoulders slid up to your ears. Can you soften them down the back a little more? Maybe nod the head yes. Shake it no. Do your thing. Pause. Bend your knees. Relax the shoulders down the back. One vertebra at a time, roll up. Now, as you're rolling up, are you hinging from the hips? And by that, I mean, did you just flatten out your back and try to pull up straight from here? That is not the goal. We are really keeping the roundness through the spine. It's like I point my little sitting bones down and each vertebra has to follow the next as I slowly rise all the way up. Once you stand tall and straight, take a big inhale. Exhale again, chin to chest, bend the knees. Roll yourself all the way down. Keep it slow and steady. Almost envision there's something heavy in your hands pulling you down to the ground. Now this time, once we arrive in our forward fold, we're going to pause. You might not be as low as I am. You could have your hands on your shins, on your thighs, do your thing. But I want you to push your hips right and left. Really see how far to the right, how far to the left you can take them. The more I push them side to side, not only do I feel this through my low back, I do feel it in my IT bands a little bit too. Remember, our hips, our lower body muscles are so connected to our back, so making sure that we're saying hello and waking up all of those muscles too makes a difference in how our back feels for the rest of our day. Come back to center, bend the knees, chin to chest, roll all the way up to standing. Take a big inhale as you arrive. One more time, chin to chest, bend the knees, slowly forward fold. And again, it's like we're folding from the sternum and then slowly letting everything else follow. Now this time, find that forward fold. I want you to bend your knees deeply. It's almost like you're trying to curl up into a little ball. And then I want you to begin to straighten the legs. They may or may not straighten. It's okay. As you do so, point your sitting bones to the sky. Bend the knees, tuck your tail, point your booty down to the ground. Now straighten the legs. You might think about almost arching the back. I don't actually arch, but it's just that feeling of tipping my pelvis. Once or twice more. The more I think about pointing my sitting bones to the sky as I straighten and almost arching the back, the bigger of a stretch I personally feel through my hamstrings. You might feel it somewhere else. I know a lot of my students, a lot of my private clients, they feel this deeply through their calf muscles, and that's great too. Last time. Little bend, little straighten. Now bend, pause, relax the shoulders, roll all the way up to standing. Find that nice tall standing pose and pause. Let's take a deep inhale, reaching our fingertips high. Wrap the pinkies towards one another, lift up and out of your waist. Take a big inhale. Exhale, hands behind the head, bend your elbows. You see, I kept my shoulders over my hip. This is not a yoga chair where we're leaning forward, but I am just softly bending the knees so I can lift out of the waist a little higher. Without moving the knees or hips, take a little twist to your right. Inhale, look forward. Little twist to your left. Inhale, look forward. Stand up tall and straight, push the hands down, and just arrive. Take a nice big breath. Big sigh out. And as always, my friends, give yourself a pat on the back. Thank yourself for doing something so good and just for you. I certainly hope you enjoyed our lovely little Pilates stretch, and I certainly hope our back is feeling so much better. Can't wait to see you again.